I'm here with the elusive Nintendo Switch OLED model, but we're gonna have a look at it today in another super cool unboxing. All right, so let's dig into this. This is the Nintendo Switch OLED model. It's pretty hard to get right now. I actually found it just by checking Target on a daily basis. So even though it's sold out online, the local stores have been getting some in, at least in this area. I just happened to check this morning. This is November 17th when I'm recording this part of the video. And there were two stores in my area that just happened to have one, and it was the white one, the one that's even harder to find. Well, they're both pretty hard to find, doesn't really matter, but I was able to grab it. I went ahead and did the store pickup, so it was actually pretty simple. Target is one of the easiest places to get new consoles if they have it in stock, especially because they do in-store pickup. I got both this and the Xbox Series X by doing store pickup at Target. And they don't do any crazy lottery stuff. It's like, you know, if they have it in stock, you can just order it and pick it up in the store. So I really like Target for that aspect as far as getting these new consoles. So let's go ahead and dig in here. This is the Switch OLED, and of course the primary difference is it has that bigger screen, but I'm also just interested to see in what kind of hardware changes they are and how glossy white the front of this dock is gonna be. These do look really nice and white, and this is the actual Switch. I didn't even notice this. I thought this was a dock for some reason. So this is the Switch. Just tapping it, it feels like a glass screen. It doesn't feel like plastic like the old Switch. So what else do we have in the box? We have our dock, and this is mostly white with some black accents. I definitely like this better than the old dock. They have this bigger cutout. It looks like you can fit more wires in there, basically. It's probably because they added, oh, this thing just comes off. It's probably because they added this Ethernet port in here. So it's like Ethernet, HDMI, and then obviously USB-C for charging. And then it has the two USBs on the side. So no USB ports in the back, but you have Ethernet now, which I probably won't use. I mainly use the Switch handheld, which is why I wanted the OLED, specifically for the bigger screen. Like, this is basically gonna get used for charging, and that's it. We have the power cord, which looks like it's pretty much unchanged. Ah! I didn't realize I was already open, I dropped it. Yeah, this is pretty much unchanged from before, so it's just USB-C to an AC adapter. We have an HDMI cable, which I'll probably just leave in the bag because the TV that I'm connecting to already has a Switch dock there, so I'm just gonna swap it out. Yeah! All right, and then we have these Joy-Con wrist strap attachment things that I never open or use, so I'm just gonna set those aside. And then we have our, I always forget that this comes with still non-charging version of the Joy-Con holder if you wanna use it as like a regular controller. So basically all the same accessories in the box, a slight redesign as expected, but this is what I'm excited to get my hands on, and that's the Switch itself. So I'm just gonna go over to the side. Over to the side. It is a little bit harder to tell which, if it's upside down or not with this redesign. I had to grab my original Switch. I'm actually gonna do a part 2 of this video, which is gonna be a comparison. Let's fire this thing up and see what we're working with here. I'm not gonna lie, that Nintendo logo looked real good. Yeah, that was intense. Like, it's way better than I expected. Like the screen is amazing, y'all. I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not gonna spend too much time on this right now. I'm gonna go ahead and get this set up, and then I'll be back in just a second with my first impressions, which will probably be like 4 to 5 days. But for you, it'll be just a second. So, ooh, magic stuff. I'll be back, magic stuff. And we are back. I am here with the Switch OLED and the original Switch. I wanted to do like a quick comparison and then also give you my first impressions of the Switch OLED because I've had it for a little over a week now. That's how long it's been since I recorded the unboxing part of this video. Let's have a look here. They got rid of those big bezels around the screen, as you can see on this Switch. The OLED just looks a lot brighter. I have the brightness on max for both models. The background too, like the colors look more vibrant. The background on the regular Switch here looks gray, and I feel like it looks a little bit closer to white on the Switch OLED. So I'm just loading up Hades on both really quick. You can tell here, this just has a little bit more kick, even with the loading bar. If we have a look at it in-game as well, the colors are just a lot more vibrant. The blacks look a lot better. It looks kind of washed out in the original Switch, and then of course you just have that better screen real estate. They also redid the speakers here, so I'm actually going to turn this all the way down. I'm going to turn this one up. So this is the audio from the Switch OLED. And this is the audio from the original Switch. So the Switch OLED is a little bit louder. I don't think the audio is significantly better. It's a tad bit louder, but generally from what I've noticed, it doesn't really seem to make that much of a difference. Obviously, when it comes to specs, there's no difference between the two. These are exactly the same. But the other major difference is really this kickstand, which on the regular Switch, this is barely what I would consider to be a kickstand. Why is it so hard to get out? Why is this so hard to use? There it goes. So that just clicks in place, kind of. It kind of functions. It's very much like, yeah, it's there. Now this is a kickstand. So if you raise this up, here's your SD card slot, which is in a little bit of a better location because it's not likely that the SD card would fall out on the Switch, but being that this goes in sideways is even less likely than on the previous Switch. But yes, this just goes to so many different angles. You can do this if you want to, like if you were to like watch video content, or you can bring it all the way up and do this. Like you can pretty much put it at whatever angle you want to. Yeah, this isn't going anywhere. This feels solid. I accidentally knocked it over. The original Switch kickstand left a lot to be desired. Otherwise, here's the top. You still have your volume buttons up here. They've just refined them a little. They look a little bit nicer. It looks a little bit more premium overall as a system. There's a slight difference between the door for the game slot as far as the little latch. I think the original Switch is actually a little bit easier to open just because it has that cutout. This is fine. It might also be because this is an older system and so it's been used a lot more. And here's the bottom of the system. The OLED looks a little bit better just because it doesn't have this indent over here where the kickstand is. But other than that, there's not much else as far as physical differences between the two systems. This is a glass screen versus a plastic screen, but it feels slightly softer on the original, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference. If you press down a little firmer, if you do a firmer tap, to me it kind of feels like the screen has a little bit of give to it, where this just feels completely solid. But that's the only difference I've noticed as far as the time that I've had it, and I've got these both fingerprinted up. That's great. All right, so the real question is, was this worth paying $350 even though I already had a perfectly fine Switch? Actually, this is technically my third Switch. I actually sold my original launch Switch to a friend for $100. He really wanted one to play Metroid Dread, and it's hard to find one at a reasonable price, so I just sold him mine. It's 4 years old, so I didn't want to sell it for like $200 or anything. I felt like $100 was a fair price for like a 4-year-old system. But this, being that I only play handheld, to me it's definitely worth the upgrade. Like at first when it was announced, I was like, there's no point in upgrading if you already have a Switch. But for a handheld only player, this is it. Like this is really the best Switch experience. I literally only docked this to charge it. I actually bought a second charger a while back just so I could have upstairs so I can just plug it in. Like I barely play this on a TV. So if you primarily play it on a TV, then none of the differences are going to be worth it. Like the only difference is the dock has an Ethernet port, which you can just get a USB adapter for the original Switch and use the USB port. This also has 64 gigs of memory, but considering like you can get a 128 gig SD card for around like $15 or so, that's not really that big of a deal either. But the screen is. So like if you want the best screen, like if you plan on playing this as a handheld, I kind of feel like it's worth it, especially considering that you could always sell your existing Switch and upgrade. Also, if you have a Switch Lite and you want to go to something that's bigger, this is it. Like this is the upgrade for people who have a Switch Lite. If you have the extra money to spare, then I think that it's a worthwhile upgrade if you just play handheld. Also understand that there's really no performance difference at all. It's not faster in any way. It's the same thing, just with a way better screen. But that's all I have to say about the Switch OLED. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you get notified when I drop a video. Tell a friend, tell a coworker,
and always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.